It was evening when two planes carrying 349 people were heading towards each other in the sky over Delhi. One of these planes was about to land at Delhi airport, while the other had taken off from Delhi. Both pilots of the aircraft were taking instructions from the same air traffic controller, and there was a gap of 1,000 feet maintained between their altitudes. But somehow, the planes that were supposed to cross each other with a 1,000 feet gap collided mid-flight. Where did the mistake happen, and who was responsible when both pilots were taking instructions from the air traffic controller, and there was an appropriate gap between them? So how did they collide in such a small airspace? This is the painful story of an accident that the world today knows as the worst mid-air collision. Do you know that every passing minute there are 15,000 to 25,000 planes in the sky? According to Flight Radar, if we talk about total flights, more than 100,000 flights operate worldwide every day. So the question arises, if there are so many planes in the sky all the time, why don't they collide with each other? The answer is air traffic controllers and the airways in the sky. Just as there are highways on the ground, there are also imaginary airways in the sky, managed by air traffic controllers. Aircraft are managed to fly along those airways, each with different rules. For example, the UM688 airway connects Europe to Asia. On this airway, the flights that are eastbound, meaning those going from Europe to Dubai and then to India and China, are kept at odd-numbered altitudes: 5,000 feet, 7,000 and 9,000 feet. On this airway, the traffic that is westbound, meaning going back to Europe, is kept at even-numbered altitudes: 4,000 feet. Altitude or height instructions are given to the pilot by the air traffic controller or ATC present in the same region. In this way, thousands of aircraft constantly use these airways flight levels to safely cross each other in the sky with a difference of 1,000 or 2,000 feet. And this is a very normal thing. What happened on the evening of November 1996 over the city of Delhi in India that two passenger-laden aircraft collided with each other? One of these planes was a Kazakhstan Airlines Ilyushin Il-76, which had taken off from Shymkent International Airport, Kazakhstan, at 3:55 p.m. Indian time. After a 3.5-hour flight, it was supposed to land at Delhi International Airport. It was a charter flight with 27 passengers and 10 crew members. These were merchants going to India for trading purposes. On the other hand, a Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 landed at Delhi Airport at the same time. It was supposed to depart again for Jeddah at 6 p.m. after loading passengers. Most of the passengers were Indian laborers who worked in this Arab country. On the Saudi plane, a total of 312 people were on board, 289 passengers and 23 crew members. In the normal course, these two flights would probably never have even seen each other. Their beginnings are different and their destinations are different, but together they carried 349 people. How could people have known that in the next few hours, they were going to meet in this airspace in such a terrifying manner? Approximately 2.5 hours later, at 6:23, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 reached the Lanka waypoint. These waypoints function similarly to how a junction or roundabout works on a road. The point where airways coming from different directions cross each other is normally called a waypoint. But this is an imaginary point from where airplanes can turn. Now, it is very important to understand about two airways here. One international airway comes from Kazakhstan to India, along which Flight 1907 traveled to India, and another airway called G452, Radio, Gulf 452, airway links India/China to Gulf, Saudi planned Delhi Jeddah. These two airways intersect each other over Haryana, and this point is called the Lanka waypoint. This point is 328 kilometers west of Delhi Airport. If any aircraft traveling on these two airways needs to land in Delhi, it will, at the Lanka waypoint, transition onto another short airway called the Delhi stall. At 6:23, when Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 reached the Lanka waypoint, its crew contacted Delhi ATC and requested permission to join the Delhi Star route. 25,000 feet. Delhi ATC cleared FL 200. Approved. Now Flight 1907 left the international airway and joined the Delhi Star and set its altitude to 20,000 feet. At exactly 6:20, the Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 flight SV-763 took off after receiving permission from the Delhi air traffic controller. The captain was 44-year-old Khalid Al-Subli, First Officer Nazir Khan, aged 39, and Flight Engineer Ahmad Dari, aged 36, were part of the Saudi airline crew that was completely fresh and was operating its first flight after 70 hours of rest, after which ATC cleared the Saudi aircraft to climb to 10,000 feet. At that time, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 was 37 kilometers from the airport. Here, one important thing to understand is that the Saudi Airlines flight also had to follow the Delhi Star route up to the ASI waypoint, and Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 was also proceeding on the Delhi Star toward Delhi International Airport. The crews of both flights were talking to the same controller at Delhi ATC, whose name was VK Dutta. To prevent them from colliding, VK Dutta's job was to keep them at different altitudes on the Delhi Star flight path. At 6:34, Dutta cleared the Kazakh plane to descend to 15,000 feet. At that time, they were 100 kilometers from Delhi. 2 minutes later, at 6:36, Dutta cleared the Saudi plane, which had been at 10,000 feet, to climb to 14,000 feet. Both were on the same Delhi Star route, heading straight toward each other. However, with a separation of 1,000 feet. At 6:38 p.m., the Saudi crew reported to Dutta that they had reached 14,000 feet and requested permission to climb further. But since there was an aircraft ahead that would cross above them with a separation of 1,000 feet, for that reason, VK Dutta told the Saudi plane to hold at 14,000 feet for the time being, to which the Saudi plane's first officer responded. Saudi SV-763 will maintain 140 meaning 14,000 feet. It is very important to know one thing about the Kazakhstan Airlines flight crew here. It included a 44-year-old captain, a 36-year-old first officer, a 50-year-old flight engineer, a 51-year-old navigator, and finally, most importantly, a 41-year-old radio operator. A radio operator was on this flight because the entire crew knew only the Russian language, whereas internationally ATC instructions are given in English. And the radio operator's job was to translate the ATC's English instructions into Russian. At 6:39 p.m., the Kazakh plane reported that they had descended to 15,000 feet. At that time, VK Dutta said the following to them. Identify traffic 12 o'clock position, Saudi Boeing 747, 10 miles, likely to cross in another 5 miles, report in sight. The simple meaning was that at your 12 o'clock, right in front of you, a Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 was coming from the opposite direction. It was 10 nautical miles, approximately 18 kilometers away from you. It would approximately cross your path in the next 5 nautical miles. If you see that aircraft with your own eyes, inform us. But the Kazakh Airlines radio operator misunderstood the message and asked for clarification. Dutta replied, traffic is at 8 miles, level 140. Meaning that at 8 nautical miles the aircraft is at an altitude of 14,000 feet. The radio operator of the Kazakh plane said, acknowledge the update, now looking for 1907. That means he had noted it. Not even half a minute had passed since this message when another message came on ATC. A US Air Force cargo flight was also nearby. It informed Delhi ATC that they had seen a very large explosion ahead of them. Dutta immediately tried to contact the Saudi and Kazakh flights, but there was no response. Regrettably, the two aircraft had already collided with each other. The left wing of the Kazakh flight struck the left wing of the Saudi flight, and both wings were severed in the middle. The Boeing 747 began to spiral downward. Flames were coming out of its severed wing, and in mid-air, the aircraft broke into 2 parts at supersonic speed. At high speed, wreckage reached Haryana's Dani village, and the Kazakhstan Airlines aircraft, with half a wing and half a vertical stabilizer, went into a flat spin and came down in Byrohar village in Haryana. In this terrifying and heart-wrenching accident, not a single one of the 349 people on board the 2 aircraft survived. The news of this accident seemed to plunge the whole world into shock. Headlines started running in local and international media, and there was only one question on everyone's lips. When there was a 1,000-foot gap in their altitudes, how did they end up colliding? The investigation revealed that at 6:39, when the Kazakh plane reported to Delhi that they had reached 15,000 feet, at that moment they were actually at 16,000. They were at 16,800 feet, still descending. The 15,000 feet message was misread by the radio operator, and the captain didn't understand it. But when they were supposed to level off and hold their altitude at 15,000 feet, the captain descended the aircraft to 14,000 feet. That is, the same level as the Saudi plane. It is also possible that the Kazakh plane's pilot did hear the 15,000 feet instruction, but was required to hold there. Perhaps he did not understand that. And secondly, the radio operator was taking some time to translate the English message into Russian. When Duda clearly told them that there was a Saudi Airlines aircraft ahead of them, the radio operator did not understand this message the first time. The second time he understood it. But by the time the message was conveyed to the pilot and the necessary adjustments were made, it was already too late. During the investigation, some ATC errors also came to light, because when two aircraft are on the same flight path in opposite directions, the separation between them should be 2,000 feet, whereas Duda had officially kept a 1,000-foot separation between them. And at the time when this accident happened, the Delhi ATC radar did show the aircraft's ID, but there was no system installed to determine their altitude. This accident became the basis for several new rules in the aviation industry, one of which was the mandatory use of TCAS. TCAS, or Traffic Collision Avoidance System, is a system that automatically helps aircraft avoid collisions. After this incident, having TCAS on all large commercial aircraft was made mandatory. In addition, after this incident, the International Civil Aviation Organization made it mandatory that all pilots be able to speak and understand English. And new radar systems were mandated at all international airports, including in India, which would not only show the distance of air traffic, but also calculate their altitude. I hope you all will also like and share this video. Thank you so much for your lovely comments. See you in the next amazing video.